The crucible of sovereign blood floated like a tumor around a dying star, its surface gleaming with jagged gold plating and ancient scars. Trophies of old wars, old debts, and even older egos. Every cycle, thousands flocked from across the galactic spiral to witness the spectacle. Today, it promised carnage, humiliation, and at least one species' extinction by embarrassment. Inside, the air was filtered through 12 species-specific ducts, reeking of citrus, of flarn, ammonia for the Crothrex, and burnt cinnamon for the humans, whose population, incidentally, was down to 1. She stood alone in the prep chamber, a shadow cast across durasteel walls, slick with condensation. The others had pacing rituals. She didn't. The others wore ceremonial armor, bleached bone, or feathered terror fabrics. She wore black utility pants, a weather-stained compression shirt, and a harness with only one loaded slot. Her rail rifle slung casually across her back like a backpack after gym class. Her name was Ellie Rames. She didn't offer it. No one had asked. A 6-armed Grok security officer leaned against the threshold, his lower hand scratching his belly, upper ones gripping a stun baton. His translator clicked. Nervous human? Your kind usually is. Lots of trembling and urination. Ellie didn't look up. I already peed. In your water supply. You're welcome. The Grox blinked with all 7 of his eyelids, considered a retort, and wisely wandered off. The crucible's walls throbbed, a low tremor running through the structure like a pulse. On the other side of the gate, the arena roared, an impossible chorus of bellowing digestive sacs, chittering mandibles, and a choir of 9-throated slug priests. Spotlights blinked in a frenzy across the stadium's sky ceiling. Announcers trilled through 10 overlapping translation streams. Lords and leeches, spores and citizens, it is time. Prepare yourselves for the grandest tradition in transgalactic blood sport, the hunt. The crowd responded by ejecting a wave of pheromones so dense it set off internal fire suppression systems in Section C8. A shimmering projection appeared above the arena. 5 monstrous beings, each with a title, body count, and a brief montage of past kills. One flipped a jungle ape over its own spine. Another decapitated a sprinting centaur with its mind. Ellie's name flickered on screen, 2, listed under Challenger. Ellie Rames, Terran. Specialization, Sniper. Odds of survival, no. Back in the prep chamber. Ellie pressed her tongue to the back of her molar, triggering a subvocal implant. Data flowed across her optic HUD. Terrain overview, wind simulations, magnetic fields, thermal hotspots, known predator paths. She memorized it with mechanical comm. 1 minute to showtime. She cracked open a pouch of dried pineapple, chewing slowly. An alien technician approached. Thin, jittery, more limbs and bones. You are prepped? You comprehend rules of the sacred hunt? No neural panic. She stared at him. Is there an option for unsacred murder? The tech made a sound like a blender trying to scream, then retreated at speed. Outside, the gates groaned, beginning to unseal. The roar intensified. Scanners clicked. Names were chanted, names that had ended civilizations. A wall display revealed the layout of the arena, a fractured desert with sharp cliffs, weather anomalies, and malfunctioning gravity wells. The kind of terrain meant to disorient bipedal prey who lacked wings, multiple legs, or psychokinetic gland clusters. Ellie tucked the pineapple pouch back into her belt. One of the commentators, a floating mollusk with diamond-tipped vocal cords, piped up in 67 dialects. Today, our entertainment is blessed by 5 champions of the Sovereign League, veterans of 1,000 hunts, hunters of humans, slayers of softskins, eaters of earth. A pause. The audience cackled, hissed, gurgled in delight. And our challenger? A human female. Sniper class. From a planet that once gave us spicy sauce, synth metal, and embarrassing treaties. Bets were already being placed. The odds board exploded in color. 5-0-0-0 to 1 against her. One entity bet 13 moons on her dying in under 45 seconds. A Cephalorian warlord bet his ex-wife. Ellie's internal monologue kept pace with the rhythm of the unfolding absurdity. She cataloged wind vectors, noted blind zones in the commentator drone sweeps. Mentally marked 4 potential kill perches, one of which required inverting her center of mass mid-jump and recalibrating her rifle's scope mid-fall. In the viewing chamber, a diplomatic envoy from the Galactic Corps watched with contempt. "Why let a human in the arena at all?" she spat. "It's cruelty." Beside her, the Huntmaster wheezed in laughter. "Exactly." Back in the corridor, Ellie stepped forward as the gate began its final rise. Her boots hit the scorched stone. Heat shimmered above the desert plains. Across the field, her 5 opponents emerged, each more grotesque and decorated than the last. One held a rifle forged from a fallen star. Another carried a staff carved from the femurs of extinct Earth species. They spotted her. They laughed. One of them whispered something guttural in his native tongue. Her implants translated in her ear. She dies slow. Human lungs are loud when crushed. She met his eyes, smiled. The countdown hit 0. Ellie walked into the arena. Calm, silent, calculating. Above her, the cameras zoomed in. The mollusk announcer wriggled with anticipation. "Let the hunt commence." And the gate slammed shut behind her. The desert cracked beneath shifting gravity pulses, making the horizon shiver like a mirage caught mid-breath. Ellie walked unhurried, each step deliberate on the scorched, uneven stone. A minor quake trembled to the sand as the arena adjusted its terrain, an artificial tectonic tantrum meant to rattle prey and impress gamblers. Ellie didn't flinch. Her pupils contracted. She mapped it, adapted. Across the battlefield, the hunters fanned out. 5 of them, each a masterpiece of bioengineering, warfare, or plain psychotic overconfidence. The Crucible chose them because they weren't just killers. They were icons. First, Kroll the Magnificent, a 7-foot tri-lobe behemoth with glowing nerve filaments that danced like fireflies along his ridged skull. His third eye blinked independently, scanning for heat, intent, and ionized breath. He wasn't built to miss. He was built to gloat. He waved at the crowd and bowed theatrically. Second, Galactic, whose name had been a bureaucratic mistranslation no one had bothered to fix. Kindness, in his case, meant he preferred peeling flesh in strips to preserve organ integrity. He stood motionless in the arena center, drool hissing as it hit the hot rock. Third, Shriya the Vapor Clutch, a hunter from the methane-breathing Wankity, invisible in the right spectrum, his exoskeleton folded light like silk. He darted between cover, unseen, untraceable, except for a faint ripple in the air, like heat-warping glass. Ellie noted that ripple. Fourth, Yatan 6X, a collective of microdrones bound into the shape of a humanoid, crackling with low-level static. It recorded everything it saw, evaluated combat behavior in real time, and had a habit of narrating its predictions aloud. Subject, human. Gate suggests overconfidence. Hypothesis, early kill likely. Fifth, General Hax Vorquan, dishonored war tactician turned performance killer. He bore the scars of the last Terran war etched into his armor, trophies from a campaign that failed to break Earth's spine. He spotted Ellie across the dunes and narrowed his eyes. She remembered him. Barely. A file name. A lost limb. A mistake she hadn't repeated since. The crowd roared approval. Bets surged again. Some wagered on how long Ellie's corpse would twitch. Others argued over which hunter would land a first strike. No one bet on her surviving. Ellie scanned the terrain. Broken plateaus. A fractured canyon to her left. A static field to the right where her HUD blinked with mild interference. Sri would favor crevice. SHR Lack would wait in open sight, baiting panic. Kroll, he'd try telepathy first. Arrogant species always did. She knelt behind a slanted rock and clicked a lens over her right eye. Her vision split into layers. Thermal, ultraviolet, motion trails. Her rifle was still slung, unfired. She didn't need it yet. The hunt began. Kroll moved first, casually strolling across the field like he was late for a date and unconcerned about the menu. He sent out a psychic probe, delicate and overconfident, brushing against Ellie's mental shell. Query, fear status, disorientation, willingness to yield. She responded with mathematical loop, non-language, pure noise, recursive and unsolvable. His probe stuttered. flickered. He blinked rapidly, confused. Ellie smiled and exhaled softly. Meanwhile, Sri circled closer, using a shimmer field to fold space around him. Ellie adjusted her vision, dropped thermal overlays, and waited for the telltale distortion in the rocks. Her breath slowed. The shimmer paused. The rifle came up. One breath, one angle, one trigger squeeze. Crack! A puff of glassy blood burst midair, like shattered methane crystals under a microscope. Sri's body collapsed into visibility, his cloaking disrupted by death. The crowd gasped as a camera drone zoomed in on the kill, their feeds flickering as sensors struggled to process the improbable. Yorton's voice buzzed out, confused. Subject performance. Anomalous. Adjusting predictive model. S.H.R. Lack roared, sprinting across the field. He moved like an armored rhino dipped in acid, swinging a cleaver that hummed with ultrasonic edges. Ellie ran, not because she feared him, but because the path was designed that way. She led him toward the canyon. She skidded into a turn, leapt a crevice, and rolled behind a wind-battered ridge. S.H.R. Lack followed, roaring louder now. Her boots left a trail, on purpose. He chased without thought. Two used the prey running and dying. She waited above a ledge with a knife drawn, then dropped silently as he passed. The blade met soft muscle between vertebrae, severing his spinal relay in one clean jab. He collapsed into the dust, legs twitching, alive, in agony. She left him there. Back near the center, Kroll was seething. He abandoned psychic finesse and went physical, bounding toward her last known position. Ellie watched from a shadowed overhang. Calculated wind speed, trajectory, elevation. Yatan moved too, gathering data, scanning her footprints, mapping her likely behavior against 10,000 simulations. He failed to predict she'd reverse her path entirely. Ellie emerged behind him, her rifle now slung forward. She fired into the static at point blank. The shot scattered his body into 1,000 failing lights. Only Kroll and Hax remained. The psychic giant snarled, sending out a pulse that cracked nearby rocks and shorted half a dozen drones. Ellie dove sideways, rolled, came up with her sights on a mirrored piece of canyon wall. She didn't aim at him directly. She fired into the reflection. The round bounced once, twice, then buried itself in Kroll's eye. The psychic feedback loop imploded, snapping his neurons like twigs under boot. The arena went silent. Hax Vorquan stood alone, 20 meters away. The wind blew fine dust between them. His jaw clenched. I knew it. I knew the last one wasn't a myth. Ellie's eye flicked upward toward the broadcast drone, now hovering inches from her shoulder. She leaned in slightly and said, "One shot left." Then she turned toward the general and walked. General Hax Vorquan watched her come, boots sinking in scorched sand as if the planet itself yielded beneath her. His tactical mind, sharpened over decades, tempered by humiliations, kicked into calculation. She had one round left. Her weapon held no magazine. Only a single loading chamber now glowing faintly with rail charge potential. He knew the model. He'd ordered her kind exterminated years ago because of it. And yet, here she was, breathing, moving like fog wrapped around a bullet. He took a step backward. Ellie's gaze didn't waver. Her heartbeat, regulated through a neural implant, remained at 62 BPM. Optimal for precision, optimal for calm. She knew fear, but she filed it under recreational emotion and left it there. Her focus was on wind speed, horizon distortion, the glint of armor plates reflecting back scattered data into her ocular lens. Above them, the arena crowd had gone quiet. The silence was dense, broken only by distant hissing. Magma vents, a broken drone rotor twitching in death spirals. Even the announcers seemed stunned. One coughed mucus into a mic and whispered in awe. The human remains upright. Hax activated his exocore, 8 tons of servo muscle wrapped in ceremonial war metal. The plates shifted into hunter configuration. A shield grew from his arm, a plasma saber from his wrist. He loomed twice her height, built like a siege tower. He remembered Earth snipers, not warriors, not fighters, ghosts, death with triggered discipline. I watched your people run, he said, voice distorted through rebreather tusks. I watched them bleed in silence. Ellie stopped 10 meters from him. Maybe you should have paid attention to what came after. Hax roared and charged. His boots cracked stone. Ellie moved sideways. Nothing dramatic, just 3 precise steps. His saber whistled through empty space, striking only heat and phantom shadows. She used his momentum, ducked under, flicked her heel into the joint of his lower leg. It staggered him a half-second. That was all she needed. She backed off, not to retreat, but to reposition. She was reading him, not just body language, but timing, where his bulk failed to flex fast enough. How long his shoulder arc took to reset. He adjusted tactics, throwing his shield. It spun like a comet, aiming for her chest. Ellie dropped, slid, felt the wind slice past her cheek as it shattered a boulder behind her. She came up kneeling, rifle steady. She didn't fire. Not yet. Hax charged again. He was fast for his size, but that was all muscle and rage. Ellie lived in the fractions. Her entire body was a question of leverage and consequence. They clashed briefly. Her rifle wasn't just a gun. It was a staff, a deflection device, a weight. She blocked his saber with a reinforced barrel, sparks flying in sheets. Her elbow snapped forward into his throat. It made no sound, but he stumbled back, choking on pride. He spat something in a dialect banned by the Galactic Council. Ellie smiled. That supposed to hurt my feelings? A drone zipped closer, trying to get a clean shot of the exchange. Ellie shifted slightly, calculating angles in real time. Her HUD projected bounce paths, mirrors, grav fluctuations, the shape of Hax's pauldron, and she stored them all. She circled. He mirrored. The heat made his exocore sweat cooling down his back. She could hear it. You won't get close again, he said. You think I need to? He lunged. She faked left, rolled right, came up with the rifle braced to her shoulder. Still, she didn't fire. Waiting for the dramatic moment, he sneered, pacing now, cautious. Trying to be a myth? Ellie's voice came like static through steel. No, I'm just letting you finish writing your obituary. He charged one last time. Not desperation, finality. He wanted it over, to end the human himself. She let him close, just close enough to believe it. Then she moved, a vault into the air, across a gravity ridge. Wind reversed. Her coat snapped. Her limbs curled inward. She fired, not at him, not directly. The round screamed into a shard of glass jutting from the canyon wall. It ricocheted, struck a drone, ricocheted again. Hax turned his head too late. The final bounce struck beneath his jaw, slicing through the weakest point in his armor, entering just under the chin and exiting through his memory vault. He collapsed forward, still reaching. The saber fizzled. His breath stopped before he hit the ground. The arena stayed silent. 1 second. 2. Then the crowd erupted into madness. Screams. Roars. Several creatures lost control of their bodies and exploded from sheer hormonal discharge. A Grox fainted mid-bet. The betting boards crashed, overloaded by cascading data errors. Ellie stood over the general's body. She didn't gloat, didn't pose. She reached down, touched his chest once, gently. Should have stayed a tactician. She turned away and walked. The crucible's walls trembled, not from battle, but from the aftermath. Every screen in the galaxy blinked in disbelief as General Hax Vorquan lay motionless, limbs splayed like broken statues, while the human sniper, just one, walked away from the wreckage like she'd simply solved a mild inconvenience. Ellie Rames didn't look back. The rail rifle hung loose across her shoulder now, barrel smoldering from the impossible shot that bent physics into submission. Her footsteps were light, careful. Not from exhaustion, but from the knowledge that the whole damn galaxy was watching and waiting for her to trip, to crack, to smile, to bleed. She gave them nothing. Just quiet, lethal poise. The arena gates hissed open with ceremonial reluctance, as if the structure itself had to reconsider its loyalties. A row of security drones hovered, unsure whether to aim weapons or salute. Ellie passed through them with a nod, so slight it might have been a tick. She dropped the spent rail cartridge into a collection bin, as if discarding a gum wrapper. Behind her, alien medics were arguing over Hax's vitals in 12 dialects. One kept insisting his body was still philosophically alive. Another tried to collect a sample of Ellie's boot print for a historical auction. She ignored them all. In the upper tier of the arena, political officials from the Galactic Tribunal squirmed in diplomatic paralysis. Someone had bet a sector economy on her death. Others had drafted statements celebrating her defeat. A few quietly opened neural tabs to begin rewriting policy. A message blinked across galactic networks. Status: Human sniper survives. General Hax VORQN deceased. Odds void. All bets canceled. Subtext: panic. Backstage, a journalist slime slid across the blood-stained floor toward her. Translator stuttering from fear. Ellie Rames: do you have a statement for the galaxy? She didn't slow. Yeah. A pause. The slime wobbled in anticipation. Don't hunt what you don't understand. That was all. In the viewing suite, a dozen arms of galactic military intelligentsia collectively choked on their own smug assumptions. The species that had mocked Earth for its simplicity, its flesh bodies, its linear weapons, now quietly reclassified humanity as probable apex species. Do not antagonize. On a warship orbiting above, a Cephalorian admiral ordered every human dossier re-reviewed. Find out how many of them can shoot like that, he whispered. His aide responded. According to declassified Earth data, all of them. Ellie made her way through the underdeck. Bare walls, cold air, quiet corridors humming with stunned silence. No celebration waited for her. No medals. No applause from her own kind. Just a bench, a crate, and a moment to sit down. She did, slowly. From her belt, she retrieved the last pineapple slice and ate it in silence. Not a reward. Just something to taste that wasn't fire or iron. Across the chamber, a young alien girl, species uncertain, eyes too large for her face, stood frozen, clutching a makeshift camera. Her chitin armor looked scavenged. Her posture was rigid with awe. Ellie tilted her head. You waiting for an autograph? The girl blinked twice. I thought you'd die. Ellie nodded. So did they. The girl stepped closer. You only fired once. Once is enough when it counts. She unslung the rifle, placed it gently across her knees, then looked at the girl. You know how to use one of these? A hesitant nod. Then take it. She passed it over without ceremony. The girl stared. Why? Ellie shrugged. Because someday, someone's going to come for your people, and you'll need to make them regret that. The girl gripped the rifle, eyes wide, reverent. Don't make it about revenge, Ellie said softly. Make it about precision. She stood, walked past the girl, and paused at the docking corridor. One last breath of the arena's air, soaked in ozone death and burnt arrogance. Outside, her ship was waiting. Small, efficient, unarmed, except for what she carried with her. The launch ramp sealed behind her. No dramatic music. No fanfare. Just a void. She sat at the controls. The stars blinked back. The crucible shrank into a speck, then vanished in faster-than-light blue. Back inside the arena, the audience remained. Quiet, not from shock anymore, but awe. The galaxy had expected a slaughter. They got a lesson, not in brutality, but in restraint, in angles, in patience, in terrifying, beautiful certainty. And in the shadows of the upper tiers, someone whispered to someone else, there's no stopping them now. They'll all want to be like her. One round had been fired. One legend was born, and the galaxy would never forget her name.